All right, let's dive right into the Canadian housing market. We're not just talking numbers today, we're talking about feelings. A new report really lifts the curtain on what Canadians are actually thinking, what they're afraid of, and what they're planning to do next. So let's get into it.
So here it is, the big question, right? After everything we've been through with the market, are people feeling crushed by the pressure, or are they starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel? Well, the answer, as you're about to see, is, well, it's a bit of both.
And this really says it all. Canadians are basically walking a tightrope right now. On one side, you've got some very real, very stressful financial worries, but on the other, there's this unshakable belief that real estate is the way to go. So, let's unpack what that tug-of-war really means.
Okay, first up, let's just take the temperature of the country. What's the overall mood out there?
So we're seeing our first little sign of optimism here. That intense fear, that pit in your stomach about renewing your mortgage at a much higher rate, it's actually eased up a little. Now, a 1% drop might not sound like a huge deal, but it's a really important signal that some of that widespread panic is finally starting to cool off.
But, and this is a big but, let's not get carried away. While the mortgage renewal fear is down a bit, the day-to-day grind of inflation is still a huge source of stress. Over half of all Canadians are feeling anxious about their finances. It just goes to show you, even if the mortgage panic fades, the price of, groceries and gas is still a massive weight on everyone's shoulders.
So, you might be wondering, with all that anxiety, where is this optimism coming from? Well, it all comes down to this single core belief. A massive majority, we're talking nearly 3/4 of the country, still believe that real estate is a rock-solid long-term investment. That faith is basically the foundation holding everything up, even when things feel a little shaky.
Now let's talk about the single biggest challenge for anyone trying to get into the market today, just getting your foot in the door.
70%. Just let that number sink in for a minute. It's a figure that pretty much tells the entire story of what it takes to buy a home in Canada right now.
Yep, that's right. A staggering 70% of people who bought a home recently admit they absolutely could not have done it alone. They needed financial help. That means for the vast majority of new homeowners, buying a house is not a solo mission anymore.
So where is all this help coming from? This chart breaks it all down for first-time buyers. I mean, sure, their own savings still make up the biggest slice of the pie at 60%. But look at the other big chunks. 13% are getting loans, and another 11% are getting a straight-up gift from family. The bank of mom and dad isn't just a funny saying, it's a critical part of the market.
Okay, so that's the story for people trying to get in. But what about everyone who's already a homeowner? Let's look at how they're handling the whole numbers game of interest rates and renewals.
And here we have another huge number for you, 74%. This one is about to directly affect millions and millions of Canadian households.
This right here is why the conversation about interest rates is so incredibly important. Almost 3 out of every 4 homeowners with a mortgage are going to have to sign on the dotted line for a new rate, and soon. We're looking at a massive wave of renewals coming right at us. This slide does a great job of showing the market's split personality. Ask people about home prices, and you get a pretty clear answer. Most folks expect them to go up. But then you ask about mortgage rates, it's a total toss-up, a big question mark. So you've got confidence on one side and complete uncertainty on the other.
But people aren't just sitting back and hoping for the best. They're actually getting proactive. We're seeing 41% of borrowers speeding up their payments, trying to chip away at that principal before their renewal date. And the number one way they're doing it? By throwing down a lump sum payment when they can. All this uncertainty is also changing who people are turning to for advice. Let's take a look at this growing showdown between the traditional big banks and mortgage brokers.
And the data here is pretty black and white. When you ask about the overall experience, the quality of service, customers who went with a mortgage broker were way more satisfied than people who just went to their usual bank. It's a pretty significant gap.
And you know what that satisfaction turns into? Loyalty. Check out this number, 81%. That's a powerful figure in any industry.
That's how many people who used a broker said, "Yep, I'm definitely doing that again." Now compare that to the banks, where only 58% said the same. The message is pretty clear. Brokers aren't just getting deals done, they're creating repeat customers.
So begs the question, right? Why are more and more people choosing to go this route? What's really behind this big shift?
It really comes down to a few key things. Number one, and this is no surprise, is getting the best possible rate. But it's not just about the final number. People really value that brokers can shop around and get them multiple quotes.
And beyond that, they act like a guide, helping them understand all the complicated options and, of course, dealing with all that paperwork.
All right, so let's pull all these threats together and take a look at what this whole balancing act really means for the future.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that the story of the Canadian housing market today is really a story of resilience. It's about people finding a way to balance their worries with a sense of optimism, getting creative to tackle affordability, and searching out experts to help them make sense of it all.
And that leaves us with this one big final question. Is this constant tightrope walk just a temporary phase before things settle down? Or is this complicated, stressful, but hopeful balancing act simply the new normal for anyone on the housing journey in Canada? I guess only time will tell.